Hello, we finally have a game. Okay, my opponent made a move. Now, you know that I've played the Sicilian in a tournament game on Sunday, but my Sicilian repertoire is still fragile and new, and I want to save it for tournament games, so I'll stick to the Caro-Kann. Okay, the Panov, my opponent, is from Croatia. Okay, I don't know the guy, but I mean, maybe I do. Croatia joined 7 years ago. Okay, so it's not a kid. Okay, I don't want to play bishop g4. I don't want to play bishop g4, so I'll go bishop e6. This is a weird sideline I've introduced to my repertoire. It's becoming more and more popular for avoiding the endgame. Knight g5 doesn't work due to bishop g4, and my opponent should play bishop g5 here, but it's one move too late. Okay, so this prevents bishop g4. However, if bishop g7, knight g5, bishop d7, that seems okay. I think h3 may be a waste of tempo. I'm not sure. Maybe knight g5, bishop d7, bishop e2, bishop f3 for pressure on d5, but I don't see that happening. Also, if I get to play knight e4 now, then my opponent's knight on c3 will be hanging on b4, and if knight e4, knight e4, d4, the knight moves I take on d4. So knight e4, b4 cannot be played. If knight e4, then d4. Knight e4, what can my opponent do? Maybe bishop e3? But then I can take on c3. Yeah, I'm playing knight e4. I like this. So knight e4, d4, knight d2. I can throw in e3 probably. Or I can just take on d4. So yeah, this is game 27. I had a break from playing these games. I've played a bunch a few days ago and then I was traveling home. By the way, I'm sorry for the construction. My neighbors still are doing some construction work in their apartment. This has been going on for more than a year now. I have no idea what they're doing. It's a small apartment. Maybe, okay, all the apartments in the building are the same size, so same footage. So it should be about 60 square meters. What can they be doing? And you hear this drilling. What? So yeah, an update on my car. No update. I'm waiting for my friend to see if he can drive it somewhere, if it's gonna, well, turn on, if it's gonna work. We will see. Maybe I still have a car. Maybe. Okay, yeah, bishop e3 makes sense, but knight e4 still loses the d pawn. So if I castle, knight e4, d4, knight d2, knight d4 is still fine. So let's castle. I can also take on c3, avoiding the problems with the b pawn moving forward. However, if I take on c3, then rook b1 is annoying and there's pressure on b7. So I think I just castle. Knight e4 still doesn't work. If my opponent plays bishop d3, that's where I have to start thinking. But I will probably, the plan here is to play e5 and to break up these pawns. So I want to go f6, bishop f7, e5, maybe rook e8 first. I can also play for b6. Maybe I should have gone b6 on the previous move, but the problem was bishop b5. Okay, this prepares b4. Prepares b4. This prepares b4. So if I go b6 now, b6, b4, knight c3, queen c3, I have no pressure on c5. I cannot exploit the pin on the queen. Let's see, rook c8 seems normal. f6 is my plan. Knight a5 seems normal because it threatens knight b3. So knight a5, is that interesting? Knight a5, how does my opponent defend b3? Knight a5, maybe queen c2. Knight a5, queen c2, knight c3, queen c3. Oh, knight a5, queen c2, bishop f5. That's interesting. Knight a5, queen c2, bishop f5. Knight a5, queen d1. Well, does not prepare b4 anymore. Knight a5, I like knight a5. It's a counterintuitive move, but I like it. My opponent's gonna have to defend b3. And if queen c2, there is bishop f5. And I'm also avoiding any d5 problems, which you usually have in these structures where the bishop is on e6 and the knight is on c6. So queen c2, bishop f5, queen d1 makes queen c1 a bad move. And if... okay, rook b1. I agree with rook b1. Can I still go bishop f5? Bishop f5, knight h4, knight c3 is good for me. Bishop f5, bishop d3, knight c3 is good for me. Bishop f5, what else can my opponent do? Bishop f5, b4, knight c3, bishop f5. I like bishop f5. I'm gonna play bishop f5. I don't see a problem with it. Now knight e4 fails to bishop e4, rook a1, knight b3. Knight h4 fails to knight c3. It seems like my opponent's pieces are very awkwardly placed. Perhaps I also could have gone b6 here, but I didn't really want to go b6. Now, I also had knight b3. Okay, so if I take on c3, my opponent has to take with the queen. And then can I plant a knight on c4? So knight c3, queen c3 is forced. And then bishop d3, queen d3, knight c4. Attacks the bishop on e3. Can I also take on f2? Knight f2, bishop f5, knight h1, I think I can do that. Knight f2, bishop f5, knight h1, the bishop saves itself, and then I go knight g3. Doesn't knight f2 work? Also, I can throw in knight takes c5, and on dc5 bishop d3, and on bishop f5 I throw in knight cb3, followed by gf5, but that's kind of messy. So knight f2, bishop f5, knight h1. What's wrong with knight f2? There's nothing wrong with knight f2. Knight f2, bishop f5, knight h1. The bishop moves. Yeah, okay, I'm playing this. This has to work. My opponent has no time for bishop f4 because of gf. Okay, this is just a pawn and then exchange. Seems good to me. Unless there's some trouble on h7, but I don't see it. My opponent's king is stuck in the center. I should be winning this position. I say that, and I've said that many times, and ended up losing or drawing, so let's not be too hasty. Seems good. I'm up a ton of material. My opponent's king is in the center. They do have the bishop pair, but doesn't seem like much. Yeah, I don't see any counterplay. Bishop h6 maybe, but not really. Okay, let's move the knight back. Knight g3. And now we can play knight e4 or knight f5 or knight h5. My knight's pretty safe. So knight e4, knight e4, d4, bishop e4. My b7 pawn isn't hanging. And I don't have enough pressure on d4, but I do. I have knight b3, double attacking d4, triple attacking d4. So knight e4, knight e4, d4, bishop e4, knight b3, queen c3, I guess is possible. Attacking my knight on b3 and defending the pawn on d4. Okay, so maybe not knight e4. I don't have queen c7 because my e-pawn hangs with tempo. I mean, I could play knight h5, but then g4 comes. Knight h5, g4, knight f6. I actually like knight h5. Knight h5, g4, knight f6. Yeah, I'm playing that. I don't need to give the pawn up so easily. Sorry, Lucia and Kira just came back, so there may be some noises. Maybe I should have gone knight e4 to just blow open the center. Okay, this I'm happy with because I can now go knight c4 and offer a trade, but then my opponent's pawns become mobile. So knight c4, bishop c4, d c4, d5. I can take the knight and then take. Okay, I'm playing knight c4. Oh, knight c4, there may be knight d5. Knight c4, knight d5, knight e3, knight e3. Okay, I have bishop d4. Okay, that's fine. These are some scary pawns. I'm not gonna lie to you. But at least I still have the e-pawn and the b-pawn. And my opponent cannot easily push d5 because of bishop c3, queen c3, bishop d... No, there's no bishop d4 because there's a queen on c3. Ah, no, sorry. There's queen d5. Yeah. And I don't think my opponent can give up the dark squared bishop. I need my knight. Okay, no, I don't think this works because I can take on e3. And on knight e3 I have bishop d4. Yeah, this definitely doesn't work. Bishop d4 now. Also queen d4. Wait, what's better, bishop d4 or queen d4? Maybe queen d4? No, bishop d4. Bishop d4. On queen e3 I play queen d5, so my opponent must take with the knight. No, sorry, there's no queen d4 because of knight takes. Jesus. So okay, let's grab that pawn. This seems good. I don't see how my opponent defends. There's queen f4, there's knight f4, there's knight g3, there's rook d8, offering a queen trade. I guess I don't mind the queen trade, but is there something better I can do? Can I go rook a d8? Rook a d8. Rook a d8. The bishop has to move or the queens have to be traded off. Yeah, let's go rook a d8. There's no queen f7, there's no bishop g6. The knight is pinned. If rook d1, I have knight f4, winning, or trading more, okay. Yeah, my opponent's trading down material and activating my rook. This isn't a good idea. Now it should be a simple conversion. My opponent has a single passed pawn on the c-file, but that should be easily dealt with. Especially since I just gained the tempo. If rook d1, there's knight d4. Okay, this prevents the b pawn from moving, so it cannot be good. So let's just bring my rook into play. My opponent blocked the b pawn, so there's no b5, c6. That's the only thing I'm afraid of, b5, c6, passed pawn and trouble, but no, the rook is inactive. The king has very few squares. On g4 I have knight f4. Winning. This is winning. There's no doubt anymore. All right. So, I like knight d5 for knight c3. That seems good. I'm gonna play that. Knight d5, I think that has to be traded off. Because I'll play knight c3, winning a piece. Yeah, okay, which rook? Probably this rook. My opponent may have rook f1, bishop c4. Yep. So let's just go e6, defending against any trouble on f7. Yeah, I think this should be simple enough. I want to prevent bishop c4. But I also want to improve my king. I also want to go a6 to see where my opponent puts the bishop. If a4, okay, yeah, this just loses a pawn. Or we trade rooks and it loses a pawn. This is it. Okay, let's win another pawn. Should I go here? Rook d4, king g5. I have to throw in king g7. I don't want to get mated. So, yeah, let's just win it this way. Because there's no bishop here or here. I just go here and win. I'll still throw in king g7, but I win the pawn on the next move. Chase this king away. And then take the pawn. Okay, my opponent resigned. If you're like me and you think practicing against the engine is boring because it either crushes you or plays like an idiot, try playing against Noctie. Noctie is a human-like AI that's going to adapt to your strength, is going to play like a human, try to trick you like a human, and challenge you on your own level. The first thing you can do is, of course, assess your rating, and you can play a rating test against Noctie. Yeah, the only move is g4 and then queen f4 mate? Yeah. Good. Yes! 2557! Come on! It's going to tell you your strength, but there are many, many more features. The first thing is, when you play Noctie, you get instant feedback, and all of your moves will get sort of color-coded. Noctie will immediately tell you if you made a mistake. That way you can ask Noctie to see where you went wrong. You can play games in openings you're trying to learn. So you can import any repertoire you want and play Noctie in that specific opening. Just go to repertoires. I've imported the Hillbilly when I was doing the video on the Hillbilly, but you can obviously create any repertoire. Just paste the PGN, and if you, for example, play the London system, you can play the London system against Noctie. Flashcards are an excellent tool, and I've spoken to Samuel, the owner and inventor of Noctie. He's going to make them even better. Flashcards are basically the mistakes you made in your games. Noctie is going to make you pay attention to them, and in the future they're going to be grouped according to theme, so it's going to be even easier to navigate your mistakes. One of my favorite features, if not my favorite one, and the one I use the most, is themes. So you can play Noctie in any specific position you choose. So if you go to your themes, you can see that I've made quite a few. So let's say you want to play out this position. This is a position from Spassky's game where he triangulated perfectly. If you're trying to practice something, you can create a new theme. Just add an FEN or a PGN and play it out against Noctie. That way, if you have an endgame you would like to practice, you don't have to find an actual human to play against, nor will you have to play against a 2800 engine or against a 500 engine human. If you would like to check Noctie out, you can follow the link in the description, and if you would like to get a 64% discount, use the code HANGING Pawns. Thank you very much for this. Thank you, Noctie, for sponsoring the video, and let's get resigned. I mean, this was a very easy game. I'm not gonna lie to you. Very easy game. Let's analyze. So where are we? Bishop e6. Yeah, so this is a line that became popular very recently. c5 is the move, and here, and then bishop b5 is what people play. I don't know h3. I don't know h3. I only know bishop b5. So h3, bishop g7, still bishop b5. a3 makes sense in the normal Panov, but not here. Wait, knight e4 has never been played. Why? Let's turn on the engine. Oh, you guys wanted me to do multiple lines, so let's do that. Let's go for 3 lines. Knight e4. Okay, castles, knight e4. Yeah, the point of... Oh, let me just get rid of the variation arrows. The point of knight e4 is that if takes, the d pawn hangs, and anything takes on d4. So on knight e4, my opponent played bishop e3. I had knight c5. Yeah, I had knight c5 and on takes d4. I didn't see that. So I castled. Queen c1, queen c1. Okay, I should have gone b6. I played knight a5, which is okay. Rook b1, bishop f5. Yeah, and then bishop d3 just loses everything. It makes no sense. Knight g3 is a mistake. Why? If I don't play knight g3, what do I do against bishop f4? So let's say I play knight c6, bishop f4. How do I save my knight? Ah, okay, this is hanging. Yeah, okay. So knight g3 not good, but I like it. Knight c4. Yeah, no, just takes. I feel like there really wasn't much resistance in this game. Okay, there were better moves, but yeah, okay, this is just, I'm just picking up all the pawns. Yeah, h6, g5, and here he resigned. I mean, it's, I don't know what to say. After bishop d3 it was over. Perhaps before bishop d3 there was, where are we? Before bishop d3 there may have been some hope, but bishop d3 just loses. I was also looking at this. This seemed nice. Oh no, wait, it doesn't work. Oh yeah, of course, stupid. My opponent just takes. Wait, so I have knight cb3 now? Yeah, but queen c2 takes back the pawn. Yeah, okay. Knight takes f2 is just good. Okay, so the Caro-Kann. Easy game. Thank you. This was game 27. 13 wins. Let's go. We have 70 more days to go. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye-bye.